Jane Adventures The Gift, the sixth story of Series 3, is written by Rupert Light and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Tommy Knight, Daniel Anthony, Angela Mahindra, Alexander Armstrong and John Leeson. Blathereen Dream novel is based off the story by Trevor Baxendale and Pearson. Education published it for school literacy programs in September 2010. So the story starts off with Sarah Jane and her gang chasing a bloke with a bag, good entrance, who apparently is a child Slitheen in disguise. First watching it, I wasn't sure if it was the same one disguised as Carl and Nathan Goss, but apparently not. So two Slitheen are using matter compressor to crush the earth. As K9 blasted a machine, Chris, the child Slitheen, strangles Ronnie and Sarah Jane had to deactivate K9. Sadly, there's nothing the gang can do. Then Blathereen appeared and put a stop to it and teleported both Slitheen to be executed. So they introduced each other and got invited to Ronnie's house for tea as Geeta and Haresh are at head teacher's conference, which is why Ronnie's staying at Sarah Jane's. When I first watched it, I was surprised to see a Slitheen, well, Raxacoricophalabatorians, but they look like Slitheen, just orange. But yeah, I was surprised that they're good guys, but that got me thinking, something's not adding up here, as obviously they're actually bad guys. So Clyde cooks a shepherd's pie, and Sarah Jane is right, Clyde has many talents: cooking, drawing, saving the planet, and making jokes. I always loved Clyde, and the rest of the gang obviously, as they're so likeable. So while they're discussing if they could trust the Blathereen, they appeared and had tea with them and talked about the planet Raxacoricophalabatorius. And it was a peaceful planet, until Slitheen came about. They gave the gang a plant called rackweed as a present and disappeared off. So Sarah Jane got Mr. Smith to analyse it and it's harmless. And apparently there's a test in school the next day, and Clyde obviously isn't looking forward to it, so he sneakily brought K9 to school so he can cheat. Next day, as Luke is looking for his tie and got it from the attic, and the rackweed is mutated and released its spores, and it hits Luke and he feels unwell for the first time because as the Bane created him, he has perfect health. And Sarah Jane is worried and gave Luke a day off, and Clyde was confused about Luke unwell. So Ronnie finds out that Clyde brought K9 to school. He uses a device to hear his voice to give him the answers, and the teacher seems to be miserable. Well, that's teachers, lol. Sarah Jane realises the rackweed are harmful, and Luke rested on the couch in the attic. Then rackweeds let the other more spores out, and it seems to hit Luke again and Sarah Jane. Oh dear God, looks like Sarah Jane's going to get ill as well. So in part 2 it reveals that Mr. Smith uses his fan in time to get rid of those spores. First watching it and revealing Blathereen are bad as Slitheen, I was like, I knew it! So while the teacher seems like she's not liking her job, she spotted K9 under the table and the plants at the back of the classroom has mutated into rackweed, letting out spores, and it hit the teacher and she passed out. Apparently if you breathe through it, you get infected. So the kids evacuated, Ronnie, Clyde and K9 running around in school stopping those rackweed spores. So Sarah Jane uses Mr. Smith to teleport herself to Blathereen's spaceship that's in Antarctica to put a stop to it. She orders Blathereen to deactivate rackweed, so they did. So they requested Sarah Jane to lower a gun, but then snatched it off her and got tied up and reactivate rackweeds. Meanwhile, Luke is almost 100% infected. Ronnie and Clyde figured out that it's the loud noise by the school bell that stops the rackweed spores. We learned that the Blathereen are called Slitheen Blathereen, pretty much part of Slitheen family. So Sarah Jane sneakily got herself free and teleports back to her house. Clyde and Ronnie tell Sarah Jane that the loud noises stops them, so Mr. Smith got a lot of alarm going off and destroying all rackweeds. Luke is feeling better, so does the teacher and everyone that's been infected. As Ronnie and Clyde came back, Sarah Jane finds out Clyde took K9 to school to cheat, and she says to Clyde that to trust your abilities. But then the Blathereen appeared and about to kill Sarah Jane and her gang. So Mr. Smith made a noise and their stomach is moving and exploded, and everything inside the attic are covered in their guts, which is gross. Apparently they were eating rackweed and it reacted to alarm. So Clyde gets ordered to clean the attic up as punishment for cheating on his test. That must be so hard cleaning the attic up in that mess. I don't mean in that universe, I meant behind the scenes. The crew must have had a hard time cleaning all that up. So in the end, Clyde joins the rest of the gang for outdoor picnic, and Sarah Jane mentions that one day aliens out there would love to help humans, who knows. So yeah, another Sarah Jane Adventures episode that I enjoyed. It's great to explore more of Raxacoricophalopatorians. I hope they do that in future Doctor Who. What did you guys think of both parts story? Let me know your thoughts on the comments down below. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.